Welcome to my next From Season 2 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you're not caught up to the point where I am every watch you're watching from, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find if you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. Now, I've already watched the first two seasons of From, just rewatching the show and doing reviews for the channel so I can be ready before Season 3 of From comes out. Make sure you come back to the channel for my reviews of From Season 3. I don't know what time they're actually airing. I'm guessing prime time starting on September 22nd. For the first week, I'll try to get that review done as quickly as possible. But then I run into the issue of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon comes out the week later. So I think the Daryl Dixon episodes will be at like 12 o'clock Pacific time on the Sunday. So I'll do those at that point. Well, after I watch it, of course. And then I'll do the From videos later on that day. But I'm not 100% sure. But I'll get them done as soon as I can, but come back to the channel for those. And I like From. It's a really good show. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's pretty solid. I am a little worried that once the show ends, it'll have like an ending, like a bad M. Night Shyamalan twist. But with all that said, I'm a big fan of the show. And this will be from Season 2, Episode 6. The title of this episode is called Deux. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. Boyd tries to explain how he believes his actions to keep Sarah alive is for the good of the town. He understands if she hates him for it due to Sarah's actions. He sympathizes with the difficulty of losing a loved one in this place. He struggles to explain how he is doing everything he can to get them all home when Kenny arrives, and he angrily confronts Boyd. Tien Chen tries to defuse the situation, but Boyd thanks her for her time and leaves. Boyd goes to the church and finds the main room empty. He then hears a music box and turns around and sees a ballerina dancing in front of him. The ballerina has Boyd twirl her, smiles at him, but then opens her mouth in a blood-curdling shriek as worms fall out of her mouth. Boyd falls on the floor of the diner, hitting his head. Boyd apologizes and helped up by Tien Chen and Kenny, and they tell Tien Chen tells Kenny to take Boyd to Christy. Boyd insists he is okay and tries to walk out, but struggles to stay upright and is helped out by Kenny. Donna, Ellis, and the others residents sort supplies. Dale brings the last of the potatoes. We haven't seen Dale since Season 1. He remarks that he hopes Donna plans on bringing some of it back. Fatima asks if the boxes are ready to go and rebuffs Ellis's offer of help, and Dale asks them if there is trouble in paradise. Donna assures Fatima that they will be fine so as long as they keep their heads and stick to rations. Donna leaves Ellis and Fatima in charge while she helps store the supplies at the Lou's house, reminding them to keep cans on all the doors. Fatima asks what they should tell people about the food, and Donna says for now they should just say they are working out a new system so as to avoid a panic. Noticing that things are troubled between Ellis and Fatima, she asks if they will be alright, and Ellis promises they can do it. Christy looks for a hair clip in Marielle's bag and finds a rehab brochure. When Marielle arrives, Christy confronts her, reminding her that Marielle told her that she was on her way to see her aunt when she arrived in town. Marielle insists that it isn't a big deal and that it's all under control. Christy points out that she was on her way to rehab and is now stuck here, therefore nothing is under control. Christy asks her when she relapsed and blames herself for causing Marielle's relapse. Marielle tries to say that she was going to tell Christy, who rushes to the drug cabinet to secure its contents. Marielle tries to insist that it isn't a big deal and tells Christy to stop treating her like a junkie. And Christy says that their drug supply is limited and vital and asks Marielle if she took anything. Marielle admits that she took a bit of morphine to help herself out. Marielle gets angry and tries to storm out, but Christy warns her that it will be dark outside soon. So she starts going that way and then has to go back this way. Kenny and Boyd, they talk about how he's never seen the leaves change here before. Kenny, seeing that Boyd is walking okay now, decides to leave him, but returns when he hears Boyd cry out in pain and clutch his arm. Boyd tries to explain how there are worms crawling underneath his skin. Boyd then hears the music box again and sees it on a nearby rock. The ballerina then emerges from the root cellar and smiles at Boyd as she begins dancing. Kenny snaps him out of his vision, but Kenny is disturbed by Boyd's state of mind. Ellis leads the Colony House residents in preparing for the night by boarding up the windows and hanging alarms at the doors. Ellis checks on Fatima, who continues to be cold to him, and asks if they are okay, but she insists they are fine. Boyd tries to explain what happened with Martin and the dungeon and the worms. Boyd continues to say that worms had been feeding on Martin for years, but they would not let him die. Christy is disturbed, and Boyd asks her if she can believe him, can't believe him for her to promise to end his misery if things get too bad for him, leaving her shocked. Christy exits and talks with Kenny about Boyd's condition. Kenny worries that Boyd's mental state is declining, which, like his father's did. Christy tells Kenny that dementia usually only happens later, but Kenny points out that it does happen. Donna leads Tien Chen and the Matthews in preserving their food supplies. She instructs Ethan to use only 2 tablespoons of salt per jar, as they have a limited supply. Julie asks how long their supply will last, and Donna answers a year if they ration properly. Jim asks if this is all their food, pointing out that they have a month's worth of food at most. Jim says they need to warn people, but Donna says it will make them panic. Jim scolds her for not telling him sooner, and Donna asks if she was supposed to tell him when he was stuck underneath the house. Donna says that they are simply trying to do their best. Jim then says that whoever is watching would want to increase the stress level. Ethan wordly asks that what he meant when he said they don't have enough food. Jim tells him it's okay and get back to jarring, but Tabitha and Julie are concerned. Boyd has another vision of a music box and the ballerina. The ballerina comes up behind him, pushes him onto the bed, and begins strangling him. This causes Boyd to panic, and then Marielle walks in to check on him. He draws out his gun on her, and then Boyd apologizes and puts the gun down. And Marielle asks if he is okay, and he promises he is. Ellis asks Fatima what is wrong, and says that his father asked him to promise not to tell anyone about Sarah. Fatima reminds him that they are getting married and cannot keep things from each other. She further adds that Boyd should not have put him in that position. Ellis says that his father didn't have a choice, but Fatima says there is always a choice, and that he put people in danger by bringing her back to the town. Ellis agrees and apologizes, but realizes that her distress is not about his dad or Sarah, and that ever since the night of the bus arrived, when they spent the night in the sheriff's office, she has been different. Ellis asks what's going on, but they hear commotion downstairs. Dale accuses Elgin of sneaking food out of the pantry. Elgin denies this and says he was taking extra food out of his backpack. Ellis arrives and asks what's going on, and Dale repeats his accusation, adding that it is bad enough that the storm wiped out all their crops. Ellis denies this, but Dale says he saw what they loaded onto the truck. Dale continues to complain about how the radio tower didn't work, and they have so many people that they're running out of food, and Ellis, Fatima, and Donna are concealing the fact to prevent panic. Fatima tries to reply, but Dale rudely tells her to shut up, angering Ellis. Dale says that they can't have new people stealing their limited food supply, and insists they leave. Dale then brandishes a knife he was using to chop vegetables at Elgin and Bakhta. Ellis tries to restrain him, but as Dale turns, he accidentally stabs Ellis in the side. Fatima and Bakhta help him to the couch while Clara fetches them towels, and they attempt to put pressure on the wound. So now shit's getting crazy. Boyd looks at the remaining bloodstains in the spot where Kenny's father was killed. The vision of Father Khatri remarks that there are some stains that can't be washed clean. Boyd specifies that he is talking about being mauled to death by creatures. He then says whatever is inside of him is getting worse. Father Khatri agrees, but says he is proud of Boyd for asking for help and admitting weakness. Father Khatri adds that people upstairs probably think he has gone crazy, and Boyd asks if he has. Father Khatri points out that he is talking to a figment of his imagination, but that sometimes crazy is the most rational response. Father Khatri concludes that Boyd did what he could, but not every story gets a happy ending. Much like his own Kenny's father and Abby's. Boyd remarks that Father Kotry is still the worst priest he's ever met. Father Kotry tells him to imagine a better version next time, causing Boyd to chuckle. Kenny then walks in and asks Boyd who he was talking to, and Boyd tries to say he was just thinking out loud, but Kenny sees through the lie and repeats his question. And then Kenny then bars the door and says that Boyd is not leaving until he is assured that he is safe, and having heard what happened with Marielle. Boyd admits he was talking to Father Kotry and knows it looks bad, but insists something happened to him out in the forest and it terrifies him. Fatima and Bacta tend to Ellis, and Fatima says it will take him by the van to the clinic. Ellis says it is too dangerous, but Fatima says they have lookouts in all the windows, and Clara reports it looks like they're all clear. Ellis says they can wait until morning, but Bacta gives Fatima a look indicating otherwise. Fatima then calls Elgin over for help, and he helps Fatima get Ellis up, and then they walk to the door, but Matthias reports that a creature is coming up the hill and is about 50 yards away. Ellis says he can't run, and Elgin leaves and tells them to meet him at the steps. Elgin makes a run for the van and is spotted by two creatures. After finding the keys, he drives to the front of the colony house and ushers Fatima and Ellis inside as creatures begin to surround them. As Elgin drives them to the clinic, Ellis begins to struggle to breathe. They arrive at the clinic and they are led inside by Christy and Marielle. Fatima and Elgin explain what happened, and Christy calls Boyd and Kenny upstairs as she begins to tend to him. Marielle tries to help, and Christy is not really wanting that to happen, but tells her where the saline is. Christy figures out that there is blood in his chest cavity and makes an incision in his side to drain the blood. Fatima, Boyd, and Elgin nervously wait in the next room. Boyd calms a panicking Fatima and asks Elgin if he is okay, and Elgin explains that he isn't good around blood. Christy arrives and says that she was able to relieve the pressure in his chest, but due to the blood loss, he needs a transfusion. Boyd says Ellis's blood type is O negative, and Christy says they will use Boyd for the transfusion, but Boyd, fearing whatever is inside of him will transfer to his son. Boyd insists he is not crazy, but Fatima tries to tell him he can't be worse than dying, but Boyd is adamant against it. Kenny then points a gun at Boyd and says, try to force him to provide his blood. So he wants Boyd to forces him, and then Boyd begins writhing in pain, and then Marielle actually sees the worms and alerts the others to their presence, and then they all see him. Fatima begs them to do something. Kenny retrieves the knife and tells Boyd to transfer the worms to him so he can do the transfusion, and they can figure out the rest later. Boyd refuses, explaining that there is a nightmare happening under his skin, which is getting stronger, and not willing to risk passing it on to Kenny. Boyd then says he has an idea and leaves the clinic, saying the worms have to go somewhere. Boyd calls out to the creatures, and the smile, we'll call him Smiles, creature that killed the two people in the van, or the bus, I should say, gets him to come over, and more creatures arrive. And then Boyd then cuts his palm and walks over to Smiles and cuts Smiles' throat. And Smiles continues grinning, and Boyd then presses his wound to Smiles, repeating what Martin told him in the dungeon. Boyd painfully feels the worms leave his body, while an unfazed Smiles says he likes this game. He and the other creatures advance on Boyd, but Smiles begins to howl in pain as his human appearance disappears, revealing his true monstrous face, and the other creatures inspect what is happening to Smiles and leave Boyd alone, allowing him to run back to the clinic, which he's not running back far. It's not far away from where he is right now. And then the creatures then disperse. Boyd assures them that he is okay now, and they begin the transfusion. While Marielle cleans up, she eyes the unlocked supply cabinet, but resists the temptation. Donna and Ethan store the preserved food in the basement. Noticing Ethan is staring at the ceiling, Donna asks him what he's looking at, and he asks, what if the house falls down too? Donna says she does not think this will happen, and Ethan asks how she knows, and Donna answers that she does not think his parents will dig another hole in the floor. Ethan asks to tell her a secret and says he told his parents that he is not scared, but he is, and wants to leave the quest and go home. Donna admits that she is also scared, but it's a good thing. She tells him that her mother told her that fear lives in everyone, much like hope or joy, but fear might be the most important because without it you wouldn't know how to be brave, thus making them heroes. A grateful Ethan hugs Donna. After the successful transfusion, Christy tells Boyd to lie down, but he promises that he's okay. Fatima watches over a recuperating Ellis, and then Christy asks how his breathing is. Ellis replies that he is fine, and Christy promises to fetch new sheets. Ellis jokingly asks Fatima if she is still mad at him, and the two kiss. Fatima then leaves, promising to return. She steps into the hallway and begins crying. Christy tries to comfort her as Fatima says she almost lost Ellis and is frightened by the worms underneath Boyd's skin. Fatima asks she needs to ask Christy something she cannot tell anyone else and asks her for a pregnancy test. Kenny approaches Boyd and admits that they should have listened to him and trusted him as they stare at Smile's body. Kenny asks if it is dead, and Boyd replies that they will find out soon enough as morning is almost upon us. So, really good episode of From. Lots of interesting things happened. My score is going to be 8.8 out of 10. My characters of the episode I'm going to give to Boyd and Christy. Now, other people did stuff in this episode as well, but Boyd and Christy, in my opinion, were the two focal points of this episode. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of From and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please consider Hulk smashing the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of From. What would you rate it, and whom would be your characters of the episode? Remember to come back to this channel for my From Season 3 reviews, which will happen as soon as I can get them up. I'm guessing at the latest around midnight the next day or shortly after then. Might even be a lot sooner than that. It just depends when the episodes are actually available for me to watch. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDub TV.